Hello everybody and welcome back to the 200th YCS here in Utrecht. I'm here with Matthew Bell. We're here in the finals to crown a 200th champion of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series.
The first of three this weekend.
Absolutely. We have this amazing crowd in front of us. I was hoping they would cheer at this point, but I don't know if they're going to or not.
Of course not.
No,
we're not that popular.
We're not that popular, no. So, what do you think?
Yeah, we got Burning Abyss versus Sky Striker again, but just watching Dinh-Kha Boy just demolish his last opponent, that was insane. Yeah. Even from a bad hand. It's going to be probably maybe more of the same based on that. And even though the stats are telling us that Burning Abyss was not favored against Sky Striker.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if it's technically worse since the Sky Striker deck we've got here from Niko is built to demolish Sky Striker.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Burning Abyss.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, at this point, we've got the statistics of all the players, some of the players in our audience here, and all the players who are still playing public events or whatever. That's where the stats come from, not exactly these two players. And from what we know about what they've told us about their decks, Dinh-Kha Boy's aim is to beat Sky Striker, and Niko's aim is also to beat Sky Striker.
And there's only one Sky Striker player in that final.
Exactly, yeah. And, yeah, I mean, it's got to be intimidating for Niko after seeing what Dinh-Kha Boy did in that last match, because that was not pleasant.
Yeah, if I was sat in the audience, I'd be getting a little bit of my sweat on, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So actually, all those stats that you've been talking about this weekend, I believe they were published on our strategy site.
Yeah, so we took all of the different matchups for the Swiss portion at least, because obviously we're not finished the top cut yet, and it tells you exactly what the win rates were for each deck against each other deck, so you could see what kind of chance you actually had among the full pool of the decks that were being played of the type that you were playing.
So you can take that information, mix it up with the results of what you get from Mexico and Columbus, and see how that helps you building your decks for the regionals and for the next season.
Yeah, exactly. But Matt, I feel like we've not got much more to say. This awesome trophy in front of us needs to be given to somebody.
I feel like we have to space this out a little bit, because if Dinh-Kha Boy gets in again like that, we're going to be done in 5 minutes.
You got a point. We probably should talk a little more.
But let's actually let the game play out and see how these two guys go. One of these two men will be your hero for the weekend. So let's throw it over to our casters.
Yep. Oliver Gurman and Tom Payne, take it away. Crown a champion.
Yes, hello and welcome to the finals of YCS Utrecht 2018, the largest European Yu-Gi-Oh! Event of all time. We had 2,356 players showing up yesterday morning, bright and early. In some cases, they really had to fight to even make it here, with flights being cancelled because of strong winds in Amsterdam and stuff like that. After 9 rounds of grueling Swiss, which translated to 12 hours of real live time, we ended up with just 300-something players on the second day. They had to play 3 more rounds, and then 6 more rounds is going to be the way to victory. 5 of those have been played in the knockout portion, and now we're here in the finals. It's going to be Dinh-Kha Boy with Burning Abyss against Niko Schlierkamp with Sky Striker Pure. We got quite the audience in front of us, so I think we should do a little quick crowd check here. So who wants to see Niko Schlierkamp with Sky Striker Pure win this tournament? All right. I would say that's a 3 out of 1 to 10. Who wants to see Dinh-Kha Boy and Burning Abyss win this tournament? All right, guys.
You've got to feel a bit bad for Niko there.
I do feel a little bit bad for Niko, but we said one of the things earlier when we looked at the way that this bracket was shaping up for this tournament, all of the guys that won the large events before in the past, like one by one, they got kicked out. In the top 64, we had some of the most famous players in the game. Marcello Barberi, Rafael Nevin, who just won Prague, for example. We had the European... Luke wasn't in there.
He didn't make it in the top cut.
Didn't make it there, but...
We had Bowden.
Bowden was there, and who just went to Worlds. People like that, big name players, and one by one, they got kicked out. Jonas Koschel became a favorite going into the finals, or going into the way to the finals. He was undefeated for the longest of times, and then he lost 2-0, 2 OTKs by courtesy of Dinh-Kha Boy.
Yep.
He just did the same thing in the semi-finals, and it looks like this is all shaping up to be his day, and he might be doing the same thing in the finals.
Yep, although fair enough, Niko is also here in the final. He must have won a lot of games to get here. Anything that we need to prepare these guys for the finals?
Well, people might be interested to know that
Niko probably doesn't know what he's up against because he won the dice roll and chose to go first.
That is a big, thing.
If he's been watching Dinh-Kha Boy, he probably wouldn't have done that. So maybe he doesn't know exactly what he's going to play against. He might know that he probably knows that he's playing against Burning Abyss at this point, but he might not know that he's playing against go second, drop a kaiju, OTKU every game, Burning Abyss.
A Burning Abyss that says, oh, you got 4 negates, that's cute, I'm just going to OTK you anyway.
Exactly.
And I think we've talked about Dinh-Kha Boy quite a bit.
We've talked about his deck list. We talked about Niko's deck list as well earlier. It's packed with anti-Sky Striker tech, which is absolutely useless against a deck which runs no spell and traps because the anti-Sky Striker tech of choice is spell and trap removal.
All right, so let's see if Burning Abyss can do it again and come up with an upset victory. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the finals of YCS Utrecht. It's time to duel. All right, here we see Dinh-Kha Boy on the left-hand side, Niko Schlierkamp on the right-hand side. Dinh-Kha Boy is letting out a sigh. He was an absolute robot in the semi-finals. We saw almost no expression during the match.
There was a little wink after he won.
Okay, that is true, yeah. But during the match, the only time that we saw him like make a visible emotion was when his opponent was going kind of all in with a Monster Reborn, attacking with everything, leaving him on just 700 life. It's his turn again, and he's like, I'm alive. I got everything I need.
I'm alive. You're not. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's change that. So let's see. Niko Schlierkamp, we mentioned it, is going first.
So for Niko, that's an absolutely beautiful hand against the Sky Striker mirror match. It's still a reasonable hand against
Burning
Abyss, but 2 of the cards aren't very good. So we can see that Galaxy Cyclone and that Twin Twisters, both of which are completely useless, to be honest, against Burning Abyss. They don't do anything. Because Dinh-Kha just doesn't set anything.
Yeah.
So he can, if he wants to, chain the Galaxy Cyclone to the Sekka's Light in order to banish it and stop it going to the graveyard. But that's fairly rubbish. I mean, it stops him returning a card to his deck and drawing a card, which is better than nothing.
Yep.
But only just.
You're really, like...
I mean, it's spell and trap removal against a deck which runs 3 normal spell cards.
The ceiling is very low right now. This is a 1-story building that you're building here.
I mean, I'm just saying, though, those cards aren't very good. I mean, he probably knows he's playing against Burning Abyss, which is why he's gone and picked up the Shark Cannon.
I would say it's 100% certain that he knows he's going on
anything else.
Yeah. All right.
And he's probably going to set them anyway, just to intimidate Dinh-Kha.
And that's 2 set.
So that's the 3rd. So interestingly, players tend to set, especially less experienced players, will tend to set the cards in order of how good they are.
Okay.
They'll tend to set the card they want on the field most first.
Okay.
So if you're playing someone who's not so experienced, that's a good trick to look out for. If you've got your 1 MST and they've set 4, you normally just want to MST the one they set first.
But who wants to blind MST anything?
Well, I'm just saying, like, no one does that as much anymore, but that's just an example of, you know, if that's what you're going to do.
If you had to absolutely drop the MST.
Yeah, but a lot of, you'll see the more experienced players, if they're going to set multiple cards, they'll just shuffle their hand face down so they don't know what's what.
All right. So this was the opening for Niko Schlierkamp. Not a bad opening.
Not a bad opening at all for Sky Strikers. And however,
he's got some protection here.
He's got some protection, so he's got... I mean, that protection is going to get immediately eaten up because a Kaiju is just going to come straight down and turn off both the Widow Anchor.
See 3 Burning Abyss
and
monsters now. Kaknagraph, Fafa, the most popular card of the day. And there drops the Game Seal, and that is giving the first round of applause from the crowd.
So here he's got the Tour Guide as well. This is completely nuts, his opening. He's got the Orbital Hydralander, he's got the Tour Guide, he's got another Kaiju to drop for a 3k beta. So he knows what he's got to play through. He knows there's a Widow Anchor there. He knows there's 1 unknown. So he knows the Widow Anchor, he knows the Shark Cannon, and he knows they can't be used right now until he chooses to kill the Kaiju.
Yeah, and this time around, Dinh-Kha Boy is a lot more amused when you compare it to the last match that we saw him in. He almost didn't talk at all. The mills weren't bad.
Those mills are insane.
That's what I said. They weren't bad.
So he's choosing, in this case, not to bounce the Engage. So bouncing the Engage is a sort of value play, because using Calcab on the Engage would just completely, it would banish it, right?
Right.
But because of the effective multi-roll, and that would stop him from using it next turn. However, he does not care. He just says, I'm going to get rid of the other cards because Engage won't stop me from attacking you for game. Very simple. Very easy, right?
So interesting how he doesn't care about certain things. It would be like
he doesn't care about,
given in any other deck, yeah.
The Engage is probably the best card he has face down, but just not in this situation.
Right. If you don't get to see another turn, Engage is not a good card.
Exactly. It's a normal spell, and you're not allowed to use normal spells on your opponent's turn. I don't think there are any yet, at least.
All right.
So I don't think that Niko can possibly have any chains. Oh, he can chain Twin.
Yeah, okay. He does.
Oh, it's a Galaxy Cyclone. I was reading Cosmic Cyclone for the longest time, but it's actually a Galaxy Cyclone.
Yeah, it is.
That's different to Cosmic Cyclone.
It actually said that.
It did. I was just reading it wrong.
Don't worry.
So he's used the Twin basically just to put it in the graveyard rather than in his hand. I'm not really sure why he's done that, but I don't think it makes any difference.
But Widow Anchor...
Honestly, I don't know why, because he did just kill his own Shark Cannon. And Shark Cannon could have seen some use later in the game. And not only that, but it reduces the number of unknown face downs for Dinh-Kha, so now he knows which one to hit if he's going to hit it, say, with a Nightmare Phoenix.
Yeah.
And in fact, almost certainly we're going to see an OTK from Dinh-Kha Boy very, very shortly. So he can use Nightmare Phoenix to clear out the last unknown back row, then drop Orbital Hydralander, and then...
I'm just going to call it right now. If he drops Orbital Hydralander, the crowd is going to go wild again.
Fair enough. I agree.
We've seen that before.
We have.
So... Is he not attacking? He's not attacking.
He's not attacking, no, that's a Link Summon right there.
It's very different. The last time we saw him in the feature match, I don't know what happened in between rounds. Maybe the shock set in that he's in the final of the largest Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament in Europe, and he has a real shot at winning this. His opponent could have been Bowden from Australia, who was playing Altergeist, and Altergeist is not what he wants to play against with this deck, obviously. So
I'm wondering why he rolled the dice.
Just to distract the opponent.
Because he knows one of them is an Engage. And I don't think he wanted to... I think he's made Niko, like, mark that card so he knows it's Engage as well. Well, not, like, mark it, but just move it face down to remind him what it is.
He wanted to show him even Fate is on my side here.
And that's interesting that he's chosen to target that with the Nightmare Phoenix and not the other card, which by this point he knows to be Widow Anchor. But he might be planning to upgrade his Nightmare Phoenix into a Nightmare Unicorn and shuffle back the Widow Anchor. But it's interesting that he chose to do that. I'm not quite sure why he chose to do that. He might have been... I think Orbital Hydralander, if we get the text up again just for fun, because it's such a fun card. Orbital Hydralander can destroy any card on the field. So it can... He may not want to destroy the Kaiju at all, because it does more damage to your opponent if you have a Boral Sword on the field for them to actually have a monster rather than not. Because when it first attacks a monster, it can gain half the attack of your opponent's monster.
It's quite crazy that he has so many monsters in his graveyard and he doesn't have two with the same name.
Exactly. Well, I think he planned that.
Yeah, but how can you plan the mills for Dante?
I mean, you don't plan the mills for Dante, but keep in mind at this point, even if he had two monsters with the same name, the only monsters he plays multiples of are... Well, most of the monsters he plays multiples of are Burning Abyss monsters themselves, and Seer can banish Burning Abyss monsters from your graveyard.
So he's got ways.
So he knows how that's going to work. He knows he can banish them, and I'm guessing he's probably just banished any monsters that he knows he has more possible copies that he could mill.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to mill any... so all the Kaijus he's playing, by the way, have different names. So he's playing 5 Kaijus, but all the different...
it's also not what you usually see.
7 Kaijus, all with different names.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to risk milling extra copies of something with his Orbital Hydralander and stopping it resolving.
So then this entire duel comes down to Widow Anchor on the one hand side versus Orbital Hydralander on the other side, is that correct?
Yeah, but the Orbital Hydralander can just kill the Widow Anchor. Or the Topologic Trisbania can... well, that's what's going to happen. So we're going to see Trisbania used, which is a card we've not seen for a while. So when a monster is summoned to a zone that points to, it gets banished, and then it banishes all of your opponents. I think it just banishes everything in the spell and trap card zone and does damage to your opponent equal to the number of cards banished. And there's some strange interaction with that and the Burning Abyss monster, and we might see the clapping now with the Orbital Hydralander.
Yeah, there we go. Stitching out the first bit of damage, and Niko Schlierkamp knows what's coming next. Tons and tons of damage. And that means Dinh-Kha Boy in record time takes that first game.
I mean, if you'd asked Dinh-Kha Boy what his deck's supposed to do, I think he would say that's it.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. So just when we switched cameras to our crowd, the crowd decided to go silent. They are all ninjas, apparently. Can we hear something from the crowd, please? Some excitement? No excitement, no.
They're 5 seconds behind.
No, not just
Not
5.
They're like a couple of seconds behind.
Yeah, they're like an entire turn behind here. All right, guys. So now it's going to be time to side deck. Niko Schlierkamp can decide whether he wants to go first or second. Do you think he learned his lesson and he wants Dinh-Kha to go first?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if what he knew about Dinh-Kha's deck.
Yeah.
As to whether I mean, he's seen the kaijus, so maybe he'll decide that it's a better plan to go second. But we saw Dinh-Kha was perfectly comfortable with that. I mean, even though that's not what his deck is set up to do, I don't think... I mean, he's clearly capable of winning when he goes first. So he has got Niko has got copies of Ghost Bell, which will probably come in. I assume it's Ghost Bell. He's only labelled it as Ghost Bell, which is not actually a card. It's got more, but I don't even know the rest. Haunted Mansion?
Yeah.
But he's just written Ghost Bell and...
Yeah, I think he thought that's going to satisfy the judges.
I guess so.
Apparently it did, so...
Other than that, he's just going to have to side... Again, we're seeing the situation. He's just going to have to side in some subpar cards just for the purpose of getting rid of his other... just to take the spell and trap removal out of his deck. He's got those 3 Twin Twisters. He's got those 2 Galaxy Cyclone, which is not Cosmic Cyclone, which I kept calling it Cosmic Cyclone until I actually saw it.
What about those Effect Veilers? How good are they?
I don't think they're very good, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think people often side them in, but it's better than a Twin Twister.
A couple of things that he has, yeah.
So I think you'll probably see them coming in anyway.
And does Dinh-Kha even need to side anything here?
I doubt it. I think Dinh-Kha's main deck is just set up exactly how he wants it to be. This is a fairly common strategy for players coming in with a deck. They say, I think I want to, I think Sky Striker is going to be the most represented deck. Therefore, I will essentially just pre-side my deck to beat Sky Striker.
That's true. It plays like a deck that is siding into something that
He's
can
already
beat Sky
sided,
Strikers. Yeah. Although, then again, Burning Abyss usually is like flexible enough to also do well against a lot of other cards.
I think that's why Burning Abyss has seen so much success, is that it seems to have this adaptability. It can execute a number of different strategies. So when Necros was a popular deck, it included a package of cards to beat Necros, and now it's showing it can do that to Sky Striker.
So again, Niko Schlierkamp going first.
I do like
he does have an Effect
Thunder
Veiler.
King. It's great.
Does have an Effect Veiler in his hand. Thunder King, the Lightning Strike.
It's not Thunder King Ryo.
Yeah.
I always think I just call it Thunder King Ryo Thunder King, but there is actually now another Thunder King.
Yeah. It's not easy coming up with card names. And here we heard
Niko's hearing some support.
Primal scream from the fan club of Niko.
But I don't think anyone is...
I don't know, these guys, they sounded like they had just gone like to the woods and taken some wolves down or something. This is what I heard. Yeah, I'm not sure if Niko heard them, to be honest. I mean,
they have got noise-cancelling headphones on.
Yeah, so in a perfect world, he didn't hear them. So... He's got an Effect Veiler. We did say it's not perfect, but it's not
perfect, but it's better than what it could have been.
Yeah.
Like a Twin Twister.
It does seem that his opening this time around is worse than last game. Is that correct?
No. He's got Engage. Engage is good.
He's got Engage. That solves all problems.
It doesn't solve all your problems, but if you're a Sky Striker player, the card you want to see in your opening hand is Engage.
Yeah.
I mean, the other cards are good too.
But no one can hold a candle next to Engage.
Well, the thing is, Engage can search any other card in your deck. And then you can use it again and maybe draw, as well as search any other card in your deck. So, why not?
So, the other thing that I need to highlight is, at the start of the day, when we looked at the metagame breakdown, and we saw that there were...
Whoa!
83...
Niko has just passed with no face downs.
Oh, he found a new strategy to go up against Dinh-Kha.
I don't think...
That's the strategy he needs?
That's the strategy he needs.
Okay.
However, it doesn't look like Dinh-Kha's got full capacity to take advantage of it. I mean, to some extent, he knows that a Kaiju will shut down a Widow Anchor anyway. So if he's expecting Dinh-Kha just to drop a Kaiju, then why bother searching a Widow Anchor to set it? I mean, in fact, Dinh-Kha's got 4 Kaiju in his hand, so he's just going to take the risk of saying, you know what? There's no point in saying this Widow Anchor.
This is how you do it. This was a very strong mill here.
This was.
And suddenly, it looks a bit different for him. Just a second ago, we were like, this is not the best opening.
It's not the best hand.
Still not the best hand.
He's got 3 Kaijus, which is a lot of Kaijus.
4. Sorry, 3, you're right, yeah.
I'm not sure where he's going to go from here. So what he can do is drop a kaiju, link, drop another kaiju, link, drop another kaiju, and link, because kaijus only allow you to control one. So he'd have to give one to his opponent first to allow him to start special summoning. So he could use them as link materials and try and take a win with Boral Sword, but we can see the Effect Veiler in Niko's hand. So an Effect Veiler would stop a Boral Sword swing for 6,000 damage push. But I guess we'll just see where he goes. So Seer is going to make his job slightly easier by burning for 900. But other than that, he's just attacking now. So he's decided he's going to save his kaijus for next turn. Seems fair enough.
Yeah.
So I guess the plan is, if he knows he's got kaijus, he knows a kaiju essentially just shuts down the defense of the Sky Striker deck for a turn.
Yeah.
So if you know you've got them, you might as well save them until next turn. I mean, it might have been that he could have done some more cool-looking stuff, but I guess he didn't feel the need.
No.
I don't know why. I didn't know that.
What do you mean?
I thought Hayate had to attack in order to send a Sky Striker card from his deck to the grave. But Niko knows better than me, and it's just whenever it battles, I assume.
Hayate, after damage calculation, if this card battled.
So I was wondering why he summoned the Hayate, and it turns out that whenever Hayate battles, then you can send. So he's basically just using it to get the extra send off its effect. So I think I'm expecting this to happen. The Dante to be ranked up into a Beatrice, and now Dinka's going to be set up for next turn. So he's going to have the Beatrice on the field now, and the Schlierkamp is going to be able to search him a tour guide in his end phase, and Seer's going to do some more damage. So he's chip damage, making this OTK. Well, it's not going to be an OTK anymore, but making his kill of his opponent more plausible. But I think
putting himself in a good position here.
He's chosen to keep the extra Burning Abyss monsters in his graveyard rather than banish them for damage, so that if he draws an Orbital Hydrolander, I expect then he can make full use of it. That would be my guess.
Yeah. But at the start of the tournament, we had just 83 players playing Burning Abyss. We said that it's going to go up in relative numbers. I mean, now it's 50% of the field.
It's gone down.
No,
There's
now
only
it's
one
50%
left.
of the field.
Relative numbers.
Relative numbers, of course. That's all I ever care about. In day number 2, there weren't even 7 Burning Abyss players remaining. In the top 64, there were 2 remaining. So those conversions were quite good. And like, of course, obviously, in the top 16, 1 Burning Abyss. Thomas Rose was also in the top 32, but he got kicked out.
I love this from Dinka Boy. So his standby phase activated the Beatrice. He doesn't care about interrupting Niko's plays at all. I assume the Beatrice was just going to send an Alec to stop the Widow Anchor from taking it. Just literally say, you're not going to kill my Beatrice. You can do whatever you want. I don't care what you want. My Beatrice is just going to stay here. And Niko said, no, I'm going to Ash that. And Dinka said, I don't have any defense in my hand, but I'm just going to banish my Beatrice anyway. I want to keep my Beatrice around. I'm so confident that you can't kill me that I'm just going to remove my only line of defense.
He's taunting his opponent here.
But I think it's fairly safe. The Sky Striker deck is... I was going to say it's not known for putting a lot of damage out. In fact, I would be saying it's known for not putting a lot of damage out. I mean, Niko is going to draw a lot of cards this turn. He's activated 1 engage, so he did take that risk of passing and saving up the engages rather than searching a Widow Anchor for defense. And now we're going to see it pay off. So now he's going to get to draw multiple cards off the engage. He's starting to pick up hand traps, which are fairly useful against the Burning Abyss deck. So that Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. Not on Niko's deck. Maybe we should alert the judges that he's playing a card called Ghost Bell and he's not allowed the Haunted Mansion. He's only allowed the Ghost Bell.
Is that the second part of the effect?
Yeah. It doesn't have an effect. There's another card called Ghost Bell, which is a normal monster.
But there was an end. The end was clear.
Maybe there was a Ghost Bell and then there was another card.
Nah. Right, so suddenly it's 6-5 to 6-9. You said they're notorious for chipping out 1-5.
Yeah, well, you can do 3,000. If they have a clear board, you normal summon Ray, attack, use its effect, get a Sky Striker. If you already have the Sky Striker Link monster on the field, then you do 1-5 or a bit more.
So how's Niko gonna get rid of his monsters this time around?
Niko might choose to get rid of his monsters. Not something we've seen Niko do yet. He hasn't had that many opportunities to be fair. It might just not be a play that he's seen before, because it's not the most obvious play to get rid of your own monsters in order to make yourself more likely to survive.
Yeah.
So he might not do that. But he has still got the multi-roll, and he has still got the area 0, both of which can be used to clear the Kagari off the field, which would seriously limit Dinkaboy's options going into next turn, because the Kaiju's in his hand, he just won't be able to use at all. Because even the multiple Kaiju's, which doesn't seem that great, he can use if he's got one on his opponent's field, he can start summoning them to his own field. But with no Kaiju, with no monster to summon the first Kaiju to Niko's field, then Dinkaboy can't summon any Kaiju.
That's the strategy.
That's a good strategy.
Maybe he he came up with that as well. If he didn't,
I mean, he either came up with it or saw someone else do it.
Yeah, I mean, he had some time in between rounds to talk to his friends.
Like, this is my cunning plan.
Is it? Trying to get on the bright side of him.
Yeah, I would say this is a good position for Niko now.
Yeah.
So I think he was fairly vulnerable on the first turn, but that is what Sky Striker does. So they're more vulnerable probably on their first turn, and then afterwards, once you've drawn like 2 to 3 cards off engage and then search whatever you wanted, you're much less vulnerable. Niko's got a Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries in his hand. Does that mean he's got something in his extra deck? Maybe it's just there to banish Boral Sword, which is quite funny. I think that's the case. So he's got 100 different ways to negate that tour guide that's in Dinkaboy's hand.
And Dinkaboy is checking the graveyard. This is usually when it started for him. This is usually his way of setting up a big play.
I'm not seeing a big play.
Yeah,
coming
we don't see it yet.
This,
but
there's no way to shut off Niko's defenses with a Kaiju. And even if he did shut off Niko's defenses with a Kaiju, the Effect Veiler would still be there to stop the tour guide from bringing out any monsters.
So it's turned a little bit into a quiet match now, which is interesting. And Dinkaboy is actually forced to just set a monster, shaking his head actually.
So he knows that Niko's pretty well set up here, and he's going to have a hard time trying to end the game this turn.
And interestingly enough, he was allowed to go second, which is what he wants to do.
He was.
What's going to happen with his mind, with his mental state, if he goes into the last duel? He just
I think he might have been a bit frustrated because he did draw 3 Kaijus, and if maybe he'd drawn something else a bit more engine-related, if he'd drawn a single copy of Orbital Hydralander, he probably could have OTK'd last turn.
Sekka's Light would have been good.
Sekka's Light? Well, Sekka's Light, yeah. Obviously, you want to draw the Sekka's Light because it helps you draw into other cards, but it doesn't OTK your opponent by itself.
It does not.
But yes, I agree, it would have been good. So Niko using the Hornet drones in the end phase?
I do think so, because it didn't
like
draw
it.
yet.
Yeah.
Still has those same 4 cards in hand, with 3 of those being hand traps.
So again, I don't know how well he knows Dinkaboy's deck list at this point. He might know that Dinkaboy's got basically no way of stopping Niko from putting a load of damage out and going for game.
It's just that usually Dinkaboy can rely on his opponent to not do that.
Well, I think so he did last turn, right? He just said, you know what, you're playing Sky Strikers. Yeah. I don't think you can put 8,000 damage out, even though he took away all his defense. But now he's only got...
It's a bit of a different story now.
4,000, which is less.
Yeah, 4/6 to be precise.
Yeah.
But he can, of course, use Dinkaboy's monsters against himself.
That is true. That is a good trick that Sky Strikers like to use. Dinkaboy does have that face down. What is the face down monster? It's a Farfa.
It's a Farfa.
And Farfa does make you a little bit more challenging to kill.
It's the most popular Burning Abyss monster of them all. Some would say the most popular card that we ever have on the stream.
Maybe. So we're starting to see this sort of explosion of value that Sky Striker are associated with. Once you start resolving Engage, and then you resolve Engage again, and that, Engage is a bit like Pot of Greed.
It's a bit.
It's a bit like Pot of Greed. It gets you 2 cards for the price of 1. I was guessing that was Metal Foes Fusion. I didn't actually see it, but considering the way he immediately put it down and targeted it with Area 0, I was like, that's probably a Metal Foes Fusion. And then he's targeted it for multi-roll now to definitely get it in the graveyard and send it back into his deck for an extra draw. And now we'll see if he thinks he's capable.
So many hand traps for Niko Schlierkamp here.
So Niko, I mean, I'm not sure if he's
2 effect veils now.
noticed, but he was keen to get that. He was keen to get that copy of Metal Foe's Fusion to the graveyard. So if he doesn't manage to swing for game this turn, which he may very well be able to do, and that may be
he should be
fully his plan, he won't be able to employ the same trick as he did last turn of using the multi-roll to put his Sky Striker Link monster in the graveyard. Because he's used multi-roll already, and you can only use that effect of multi-roll once a turn. And he's also used Area 0, so he can't use either of those to get his Link monster off the field and leave himself with an empty board.
Yeah.
Which is quite funny if you think about it, that the best way to defend yourself is to leave yourself without any defense.
Yeah, it's a bit controversial.
It is a bit controversial.
Or non-intuitive at least. So Niko is now picked up his hand, looked at it very, very closely. For a second it looked like he's going to shift gears and play a little bit faster because he knows that time is also running out. And that's also not in his favor, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think he's thinking about so much about the time. I think he's just trying to think about how he can output the remaining 4,600 damage.
But that looks like a good and promising start.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is very difficult with that face-down Farfa, actually.
He doesn't know it's a Farfa.
He doesn't know it's a Farfa, but he knows it's going to be a burning... He's guessing it's going to be a burning Abyss monster.
He's
so
probably
if it's
going to also be guessing that
Graph,
it's a good
Farfa,
one.
whatever.
Yeah,
So, yeah, the Unicorn is a good answer to it because it won't trigger its graveyard effect. And now, yeah, that's a very simple, nice way of attacking the game.
And Niko Schlierkamp ties the score, which means we're going to see a third and all-deciding duel in the finals of YCS Utrecht. It's Burning Abyss 1, Sky Striker Pure 1. These guys are having at it. They are having fun here.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think Dinh-Kha's going to side anything.
He's just going to quickly glance over his side deck. Maybe he's going to smoke screen.
Oh, no, he did.
There's one
that?
card.
Do you reckon that was an Ash? I think that was Ash. I don't know if Niko's going to side anything
Seems like
either.
that was it.
But he didn't side anything out yet.
No, he's waiting for a little second. Maybe
He's waiting to see if Niko's distracted.
Maybe double checking who's deciding who goes first, which of course is going to be him. And
yeah, Niko's going first for sure. Every day of the week.
Yeah, every day of the week and
he
twice
just
on a
sided
Sunday.
in 3 Ash and then sided them out again.
See, that's
he didn't sign anything
It's
at
a
all.
tiny little smoke screen here.
That's a next level smoke screen.
I don't think that Niko was fooled by this. And
I don't think he cares.
yeah, I don't think he can care because there's nothing else that he can side.
I mean, maybe the rotation of 3 cards, maybe he's trying to trick Niko into believing that he's going to side in some go first cards and encourage Niko to side in some go second cards. But I don't think Niko's going to fall for that one.
3 cards are going to make the difference in this particular deck?
Well, 3 cards is exactly the number of copy of Sekka's Light. So if you were going to side in some nasty spells and traps, like Imperial Order or Anti-Spell Fragrance, then you'd side out your Sekka's Light. So but no, I mean, he's just... I don't think Niko sided anything anyway.
All right, so here we go. Handshake prior to the last game. We got roughly 14 more minutes on the clock, maybe a little bit more because we had some technical difficulties at the very beginning. Not 100% sure about that.
I've not seen any indication of who's going
No,
first.
actually we do have 3 additional minutes, is what Thomas just told me, because the judge was deciding that there was slow play somewhere. I honestly didn't look for it.
So wow,
I was
Dinh-Kha chose to go first.
And he starts with Sekka's Light, but gets met with a hand trap. So
get ashed, yeah.
That's if he saved this trick for the finals, and that's the first time this day he wants to go first. I'm kind of impressed, to be honest.
I mean, maybe I just read his deck list wrong. I mean, maybe he's happy going first because he knows he can just set up and then do what he was going to do anyway, as if he was going second, but just with a head start.
So,
but he has definitely gone first. He's got the right number of cards to have gone first.
So now it's Niko Schlierkamp. How surprised is he? I mean, do you think he's gonna side in a certain way that we agreed he can't side very differently?
I don't think it really matters that much because Niko has... I don't think Niko's deck was going to change. I don't think Dinh-Kha deck has changed. I mean, maybe he may have thought about the Kaijus coming out because he must have seen Niko just play around the Kaijus completely that game. He was not willing for 1 second to let the Kaijus interfere with his game plan.
And we just saw 1 mill again for Dinh-Kha with the Dante. Oh, sorry, no, he didn't even use
no
Dante.
mills, yeah.
No mills.
He doesn't care about milling.
Which is weird with a snow in hand. Like, usually...
I'm interested that he didn't shuffle back the snow, actually. He's rather keep the snow in his hand than a Burning Abyss monster.
So, very unconventional strategy, at least from our perspective, for Dinh-Kha. And now it's Niko Schlierkamp's turn, and he can maybe go to town. We said that Sky Strike is not known for dishing out that much damage early on.
But I'm very excited to see that engage.
All of that might change in just a second with that engage. He already had one in hand, gets to add a second one. Is that the third one?
That is what you want to see in the final, double engage.
Yeah.
And we know Dinh-Kha's got nothing to say about that. And he's also not got a Kaiju in his hand if Niko chooses to leave a monster on the field to shut off all of Niko's defenses.
So the element of surprise that Dinh-Kha wants to go first, so far not work out in his favor.
He's set up the Beatrice, which I can't imagine what else a Burning Abyss deck wants to do on its first turn than set up a Beatrice.
I thought he wants to also mill like 10 cards into the graveyard to make sure that Snow is going to be a live card.
Yeah, I mean, he neglected to mill anything with Dante, preferring instead to keep it as a material for Beatrice. So I guess he's not that bothered about milling. So we see now the power of the multi-roll being used to force out opponents' possible interruptions, because he knows that if he doesn't do it now, there's a chance that he might never get to use the effect of Beatrice, because if Niko has a Widow Anchor available to him, then he can just activate the Widow Anchor and Dinh-Kha can no longer respond.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen this play in his last round feature match, where he's using Alec to negate the effect of his own Beatrice, which prevents Niko from stealing it with a Widow Anchor, which is a very nice play.
It's definitely an unconventional play, something you don't see every day.
I mean, it's just recognizing the fact that the best answer that the Sky Striker deck has to a Beatrice is the Widow Anchor.
Yeah.
And he's just taken that away from him.
All right, so Niko Schlierkamp this time around looks a little bit less nervous than before, or...
I think that's because he's got 2 copies of Engage, which will draw him lots of cards.
He's in a good position here, very, very
good
position.
So we see he's got the 2 Engage. He's now going to go up to a 3rd spell Engrave. So he can activate both of those Engage, use Kagari and get one back. So those 2 Engage are going to turn into 6 cards.
That's ridiculous.
3 of which he gets to choose.
I mean, very powerful.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I dropped the coverage act for a second there.
It is very powerful. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. So it's probably actually going to give him enough tools, if he wants to make a Nightmare Unicorn and shuffle back that Beatrice that Dinh-Kha went to these extreme lengths to protect.
And Dinh-Kha actually does not look relaxed this time around.
I think he knows this is not good for him.
Yeah, he was visibly not happy with the way that this just played out. Niko Schlierkamp.
I mean, you really don't want to see the Sky Striker, but it makes a huge difference to the speed of the Sky Striker player if they're drawing engages on their first turn.
Yeah.
So they can search engage, sure. With a number of cards, they can search engage, but you can't do it until the end phase. So that basically means he's doing everything on this turn, what maybe he shouldn't have been able to do this turn, and maybe do next turn just by drawing those engages.
So he's up on 1 Widow Anchor, 1 Shark Cannon.
So here we've seen the 2nd engage. And if the 3rd engage is drawn, then I think the crowd's going to go a bit nuts. Because drawing the 3rd engage just sends you into, you've now got, maybe one of the draws was...
Yeah.
It was one of the draws off engage, so you'd end up with like 7 cards.
Every single one of these activations, if you look at Dinh-Kha's face, he's not happy.
And he knows the Kagari is still going to come down.
He's making it very obvious that he's not happy. Which is not like him. Like when we saw him last round, he was never really letting out any big emotion.
And he was winning most of the time.
Yeah. Still. So that's an indication that he currently doesn't believe that he's winning, at least in my book. My book of reading faces.
I don't think he believes he's winning at this point.
He might not, but stranger things have happened. We're going to see what he's going to draw here. He's still got a second slide in his graveyard. He's got a tour guide in hand.
So once again, he's left himself. He's already used that multi-roll. So without the multi-roll, he's got no way of repeating this play of sending Shizuku to the grave. So that means he is vulnerable to a Kaiju, but we know that Dinh-Kha doesn't have a Kaiju.
Have one, yeah.
The Ghost Reaper, I assume, is just there to banish a potential Boral Sword. because he doesn't have any other obvious target. I mean, he can just pick a card out of the extra deck, maybe a Nightmare Phoenix, but there's nothing like, he can't pick the Dante outright. That's the thing that people used to do to Burning Abyss that was so devastating, because it shuts you off from Beatrice as well as Dante.
That used to be good. All right, so quick search for Dinh-Kha Bui at the end of his opponent's turn.
I don't know what he's hoping. I think he's probably hoping to draw Sekka's Light. Sekka's Light into a Kaiju and an Orbital Hydrolander.
Something like that.
Would be ideal, but I don't know what it is. From his face, it's probably not Sekka's Light.
So Niko Schlierkamp is now
So
thinking.
Niko might be considering using that Widow Anchor in the standby phase, because he's probably well aware of the possibility of Dinh-Kha just straight up dropping a Kaiju on top of his Shizuku, which would prevent him from using the Widow Anchor. So it would be a reasonable thing to do.
I don't think that Dinh-Kha drew yet.
Oh no, he did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think he drew, and Niko probably stopped him to have a think.
Sorry, you're right. Yeah, the Farfa and the Kalkap are the two new good cards. One of them got searched, of course. The Farfa,
I
fan
think
favorite.
The Farfa got searched, and the Kalkap is in his hand.
All right, so
we should also be aware. I mean, 6 minutes is some amount of time, but it's not the longest time.
Yeah. And again, Dinh-Kha checking the graveyard. Sometimes that marks the beginning of the end. We are not quite convinced this is what's happening here, at least not yet.
So I assume that Dinh-Kha has been allowed to go into his main phase one.
Just summons the Farfa, gets destroyed for its own effect.
So I'm not sure where this is headed, because it just gets rid of the Shizuku, and the Shizuku can just bring back a Ray, and then Ray can just replace it.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where Niko is just wondering, do you not have anything else, or do you try to trick me?
It's an interesting one. It's not something. It's a bit of a curveball, I would say.
Yeah.
From Dinh-Kha Bui. Because so if the Ray comes back, it doesn't put a monster into the extra.
Yeah. And never before have we seen anybody take damage that quickly. When the Beatrice attacked, Niko Schlierkamp was like, yeah, of course. I take it, if that means that I'm not going to get tapped.
He's like, that was your battle phase.
Yeah. If that means I'm not going to see any more attacks, that's fine with me.
Question of whether Dinh-Kha Bui can make plays which last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
No, I'm not convinced.
So, the Widow Anchor is there to
Widow Anchor
negate.
seems fairly safe, so what we're going to see now is the Kalkab bounce the card that was set off multi-roll, I guess. Maybe...
I guess you guess wrong.
Yeah, it just got banished. I don't know why he keeps rolling a dice.
Just to...
And then banishing the card that
further
was set off
the
multi-roll.
opponent.
Maybe he set 2 cards off multi-roll, I can't remember. But he definitely wants to hit one of the cards off multi-roll, right?
So 6-card grave for Dinh-Kha Bui. That means
like
even Fairy Tale Snow
passed.
Is not doing anything here.
I mean, it's in his hand anyway.
Yeah. But and he cannot summon it. I think he normal summoned.
Yeah, he normal summoned the Farfa. Yeah. So it might be what I don't know what Dinh-Kha Bui's got. If he had that snow in his deck, as I'm saying, I was surprised that he kept the snow in his hand at the beginning of the game with the Sekka's Light, because otherwise he would have it in his deck now. And having the snow in your deck means you can send it to the graveyard with Beatrice. And having snow in the graveyard makes it much harder to inflict any damage to you. So what he could do, I don't know what he's going to send now, but he's using it now in the standby phase in order to prevent Niko from being able to stop it with a Widow Anchor, because he's got a monster in his main monster zone. So as I said, I mean, I think if the game were to go on and come to its natural conclusion,
then
I would put Niko as the clear winner. However, it's worth pointing out Niko has only got 3 minutes to figure out how to get through Dinh-Kha Bui's board and inflict the extra 1,000 damage.
Yeah, although there's not much of a board here.
There's not much of a board, but it's a monster and he can't just attack. So he can just summon Hayate and attack, and then go to his main phase 2 and then start activating Sky Striker cards. It's probably what we would expect to see when there's only this amount of time left on the clock.
Yeah.
Just get yourself ahead on life points.
But keep in mind, they do have extra time.
Oh, they do have extra time.
3 minutes extra time.
3 minutes of extra time.
We're looking at like almost 6 minutes that are left on the clock here, and that makes a big difference.
That does. I mean, Dinh-Kha's clearly made a play that says he wasn't thinking of that game plan of just sticking ahead on life points until the end of the round, because he's just banished the monster that was preventing Niko from attacking him.
So here is the opening that Niko Schlierkamp has been waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, he's got double
match.
engage in his hand. I would say he's in good shape to try and attack the game this turn.
Yeah, let's see if he can bring it home here. That's the big question. I mean,
how do you think he's going to assemble it?
Well, you said we got the double engage.
He doesn't have double engage. He's got the Hornet drones. He's got Shark Cannon, which gets him number of link materials, and then I think the magic number of link materials is 4. Yeah, because that makes a Boral Sword, and Boral Sword does a lot of damage.
Even Sky Striker can dish out a lot of damage.
Even Sky Striker can dish out a lot of damage with that Boral Sword. I agree.
All right. So we see plenty of cards face down for Niko Schlierkamp that can do damage or help him do damage. He's got a full hand, and Dinh-Kha is just
full hand
left with snow and
good cards, no less. Yeah.
And he used to have a monster on the field. Yeah.
He used to have a monster.
Don't blink. If you blink, you're missing something in this match.
He's got to make sure he picks a monster that doesn't trigger when he sends it to the graveyard, which is quite a funny one here.
It's quite hard, actually. So he brings Dante back. He's using his opponent's weapons against him.
Well, the Dante will trigger when it's brought back, but it won't matter because it only adds a monster to the hand. Yeah. And I don't think Niko's that bothered about what's in his hand. He's trying to...
Now Niko is picking up the pace. We can see that. This is the shift in speed that we often see.
Aiming for a Boral Sword here.
You just said those 4 is the magic number in this
now
case.
He just needs a monster to accompany it, and there it is. I think
is the monster.
Niko is going to be
that should be it. We might be seeing the handshake. Dinh-Kha is already nodding in agreement. There's the monster. Niko's got the setup, and that is the handshake. That means Niko Schlierkamp is the champion of YCS Utrecht 2018. And the crowd goes absolutely nuts. I think they would have gone a little bit more nuts if Burning Abyss would have won. But we're giving it to Niko Schlierkamp with the Sky Striker Pure Deck. For one last time this weekend, it's time for the post-match analysis. Saw a couple of players celebrating that victory.
I think they were wearing the same T-shirt as Niko.
There were also a couple of players who were not that happy because they really wanted to see Burning Abyss win this one. But I think everybody was super surprised by the strong showing of Dinh-Kha with that Burning Abyss deck.
His deck was absolutely incredible, and props to him for making it all the way to the final. But props to Niko.
Yeah, props to both of these players. We don't want to throw anybody under the bus. It was like the deck that everybody expected to do well in this tournament against the deck that was specifically designed to disassemble that deck.
It just didn't quite pull together. I think in that second game, he really had that one opening on the first turn. Yeah. His deck didn't quite pull together. I'm a bit upset that the person Luke predicted was going to win has actually won. We might not hear the end of that one.
Although, however, Luke pointed out that Niko Schlierkamp is going to win when he was already way into the second day and everything. He should have said that at the beginning of the event. That would have been really, really impressive. So guys, a field of 2,356 players just came down to 2 guys in the finals, Dinh-Kha and Niko Schlierkamp. In the end, Sky Striker takes it in the hands of Niko Schlierkamp. We have had an amazing weekend. You can, of course, watch all of the matches and all the single rounds that we did on our YouTube channel. Everything has been uploaded except for the finals, but just give us 5 more minutes and it's going to be there as well. You can also check out everything on Twitch, where you can even look at the chat replay, which is sometimes pretty interesting, because there were some crazy moments in those feature matches where you just see everybody going nuts in the chat. Tom, thank you so much. It was the first time you did this. You just kept going for 9 rounds yesterday, 9 rounds today, never skipped a beat. Thank you so much. I think you did an excellent job. And I also heard that in the chat several times people were pointing out that, yeah, this Tom guy, he really seems to know what he's saying.
I'm glad.
Yeah, modest as always, our British commentators. Speaking of the British commentators, let's hear it one last time from Matt Bell and Luke Withington.
Thank you very much, Ollie and Tom. And we're here with YCS 200 winner, Niko Schlierkamp. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Come on, guys, clap. Come on.
How do you feel?
There we go.
Great, obviously, like great experience, and yeah, just a release. Yeah.
Amazing. Were you worried about that last matchup when you saw that was what you're going to be playing against?
Yeah, I was so scared because I think this was my worst matchup left in top cut. So like left in top 16 or something.
Yeah.
So I was really scared. I already lost to him in the Swiss rounds. So.
Oh, okay. That's even worse. He must have been feeling like really under pressure.
And he told me he didn't lose a game before, like in whole top cut. So.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you did really well not to tilt there as well, because that first game he came out really explosive and took that down, and then it was like you had to win like the next two. You're on the back foot.
I didn't expect to win game 1 because I have like 8 to 10 dead cards in my deck that do like absolutely nothing. So.
Yeah, you opened 2, right? Twisters and Galaxy Cycle.
Yeah, like with both.
It's not
in Swiss, I opened like 3 Shed right against him, so that wasn't great either.
Okay, yeah, not so good. Matt, tell us a bit more about the game.
So, MVP, Borsaur Dragon.
Yeah, it was a great finisher here because he managed his spear tree, so I couldn't kill him with anchors, and then Borsaur helped out.
This Borsaur comes in, 2 attacks.
Yeah.
1 trophy, please, mate.
No.
Well, speaking of the trophy, let's not wait any longer. We're going to let you lift this trophy. Please don't drop it.
There we are, you guys. Your first 200th winner. I don't know why anyone's surprised. We said this was going to happen ages ago. We've known since like the start of day 1.
Well,
guys,
Niko, congratulations.
Thank you very
once
much.
more. That's it for us for the 200th YCS here in Europe. Matt, do you have anything left to say?
Guys, if you still want to get some more Yu-Gi-Oh action, please hop on over to our US colleagues who are streaming Columbus. And you get to see if we see another Sky Striker taking it down on their side, or maybe something else.
Yeah, that's it. So once again, we crown a YCS champion who has shown that he is the best in a room of amazing duelists. Please tune in again. See you soon.